I didn't find that part interesting at all. I think he was like,
I found that.
it was very.
I thought, goody two shoes boy. He's like, actually, you can call me daddy now, kind of thing. But
What the fuck? Hello, everybody. Let me start again. Hello, everybody.
no,
welcome
we're
to.
keeping that.
No. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shitposting with the Lads, episode 15. I'll be your host this time, Michael, and I'm going to be joined here by Skylar and Tiger once again.
Yep,
Yeah, what's up?
pretty much.
Yeah, so we can start with anything interesting happened since we last recorded.
School started. Time matters again. I have to sleep and wake at human hours. I'm actually doing a pretty good job of that. Like waking around 9 to 10ish, and then sleeping around like 11, 12. Last night was I went to bed like 2 last night, but I took a nap and it was Saturday, so I forgive myself.
It's Saturday, it's fine.
Yeah, it's Saturday.
Basically the same. School started. Yeah. Nothing too interesting has happened to me since.
I'm in a pretty interesting course. It's like it at the end of the course you're supposed to be able to find a job, I think, because like after the course they have like a networking session with other companies, and then what I was doing before we started recording was I did like a kind of mock interview / thing, and he was going over my resume and like giving me like different cases to kind of solve and stuff. So it was a very interesting course. It was it's not like a normal course, but you just kind of like have the prereqs and sign up or whatever. I had to like apply an interview and go through a process to kind of get in.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Huh?
So it's like feels a little bit more elite, you know what I mean? And I'm excited to see kind of where it goes. It's very different than my engineering coursework because it's a business and kind of the title of the course is like business problem formulation and solving or something along those lines. But basically, it's not in my usual area, and I'm excited because it's not in my usual area, and it challenges me to kind of think in a different way.
Well, okay. I mean, I was actually going to save this topic for a little later, but since you bring this up, we can talk about this stuff. Have you been looking into like the getting jobs and everything, like going through the interview process and everything?
Yeah. I mean, I told you guys like personally like a while back that I kind of screwed up an interview, right?
I don't remember that, but you might have.
I don't remember. So to kind of recap quickly, I got an invitation to apply to a firm in Hong Kong, and I think the reasoning for that was because of my technical background and also because I spoke English, Cantonese, and Mandarin, which to a decent level, I would say, which I guess is rare probably in the States. And so they reached out to me to apply, and I did. And their interview system was, in my opinion, pretty horrible because they give you 15 seconds to read a question and then 1 minute to answer, and you can't re-record your answers or anything. And the part I messed up was at the end where they gave me a question in Chinese out of nowhere, and I totally messed that up. So they emailed me back to say, yeah, sorry, like no. And I was like, understandable, have a nice day, but also you guys have a horrible interviewing system. But we're just going to leave it at that. I was actually pretty down about that for a few days because I thought it'd be pretty cool, and it was very flattering to be recruited in any capacity. But yes, to answer the long-winded way to say yes, I have been looking at the job search kind of thing. I've been trying to map out like what that would kind of look like. I mapped it out by like industry, by like country, by area, by like industry. I haven't like fully populated those lists yet, but like that's kind of my line of thinking right now is to be like, okay, because my skill set and my training, I guess for lack of a better word, is very broadly applicable. And I haven't made a decision as to where I want to go. And then I also have like a writing project, right? So like I have like this miscellaneous other crap floating around in my life that I don't it doesn't coalesce into a very obvious.
Well, I would say I have a lot of other stuff that
life, I guess, right?
I have a lot of other stuff in my life that I do that like I don't really put on my resume. Like I do like manga translation work and like drawing and all that stuff, but like even though it's like moderately successful in terms of the manga translation, I don't really like put that on my resume because it's like not really relevant to stuff that I'm going to be applying for. But anyway, so like I don't know about
Yeah,
you.
so I was talking to some people. They were like basically have like multiple versions of your resume, which I'm thinking of doing.
Yeah, I mean that might be a good idea. Um,
Yeah, for like different areas and different types of jobs, but I haven't gotten around to that yet.
yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so I don't know about your major, but okay, like for specifically for me, um, like CS, it's like generally expected that well, internships matter a lot more. Like research is not really a thing in CS. Like there are maybe a few people who do research in CS, but in general, it's going to be like internships where a lot of other STEM majors kind of lean towards research instead of internships. Um, so like basically, a lot of people I know, including myself, have been looking for internships. Uh, I think the one interesting thing about the job search so far is that it's strikingly like the competitive Pokemon community. And
What?
let me expand on this.
Yeah.
So this is the one interesting thing that I've noticed is like from like because I've been playing in the competitive Pokemon community for quite a while now. So I've mentioned before that like basically I believe that like my tournament results in Pokemon tend to not be reflected as much because I don't like interact a lot with the community. Because it's just like not that enjoyable. So I normally keep to my own circles. But one thing that I've noticed a lot is that the most important thing towards getting those spots in like big tournaments and team tournaments and stuff is actually not as much about your accolades, but more about your connections. So like I didn't really want to believe that
I
like
don't think that's uniquely a Pokemon thing, right?
no,
Like
it's not.
in
But I
life in
didn't
general.
really want to
Oh,
believe that. Yeah, so this is kind of transitioning into the further thing, which is like I didn't really want to believe that like real life was like this for a long time. Um, I wanted to believe like, oh, if you have the skill sets necessary, people will be willing to take you on. But then this year, basically, I applied to a lot of internships, but I was able to get a pretty premier internship from my mom's company, and she works at a Fortune
ooh,
500 company. Uh,
ooh,
but like, I'm not very qualified for the job, like to put it simply. Um,
ooh.
which is to say that the job is in data science, which I don't really have. I don't have any technical training for, and I have like no real business doing anything like getting a job like this. So the only reason I got it is basically because my mom got me the job. Like technically, I did pass the interview and everything, but like
Your
I,
mom would
I
have made you pass the interview.
no. But it's like I shouldn't have had an interview in the first place because my resume is just like clearly not qualified enough to get to this
Uh,
point. Um,
that is life, I suppose. You
so
fake it
yeah,
till you make it.
but I mean, like it's disappointing in a sense because like a lot of companies that I've applied to that I'm like I actually have qualifications for and stuff is like they don't care that much. Like it's like I didn't really get many job interviews even from most companies except for uh, Amazon was like the only one that I was able to actually get an interview for. Um,
Bruh. That's the only one that matters.
so I mean, I just finished my interview with them, so we'll see how it ends up. But I think it's definitely a little interesting, like this year, just like the how much it's been similar to like that experience, and I think like part of it is also that like smaller companies, or like mid tier companies that I've applied to are less willing to hire this year just because COVID and whatnot, and they're probably not looking for interns as well. So um,
I would think that not a COVID, a coding company would not thrive, but like do better than most in this sort of environment, right?
I mean, not
Or I guess
really,
for the
because
areas that you're looking to work in.
it depends. Because well, okay, coding in general is a job that like is applicable to like basically everything. But like mid tier companies are actually like because of like economic reasons, etc. It's like they don't really they don't really like thrive or anything. Like there's certain companies that are like on the bigger side. So like the reason why I think Amazon is more willing to still hire interns is because they didn't suffer financially. They probably grew as a company during COVID, like this in 2020, but Like I think a lot of
Yeah.
mid-tier companies, it's not the case.
All right. Tiger, anything to add?
I mean, okay, so there's a lot of things here, right? So the first thing is what you said about connections and networking. I think
Yeah.
that's just true no matter where you go.
Yeah, it is, but like
Like
I mean,
maybe
I guess
outside of like elite sports is like maybe the only thing that doesn't, that's maybe the only thing that has like where connections don't really get you play places. But I think other than that, pretty much everything else, that's true for essentially.
Yeah, but well, okay. I mean, I would say
I
that
think it's a matter of degree, right? Like, is the degree what surprised you, Michael?
yeah, it's a little bit to do with the degree as well, but like it's also just like it's something that like, it's kind of like an unwritten thing. Like I guess people don't really talk about it that much, right? Like if you it's always put well, okay, in a sense it's because you don't have as much control over like who you know, but like in general
What are you
people
talking
don't
about? What?
what?
Of course you do. You can always like go out and like meet people and stuff.
I
That's what I
think
do.
No, like compared to hard work and like building your skill set, right? Like a lot of people will talk about like
True, like you were born your mother's son, kind of thing.
yeah, a little bit, but like what I'm saying is more so to do with like people don't push you to like well, okay, there are definitely people who are out there who do push you, but like it's generally not thought of as like networking as more important than like doing well in school, right? Like people will think like,
Yeah,
oh, you need to build
for
your
sure.
skill set or whatever first, but like it's something that people don't talk about enough, I feel like, and it's like I guess it was just kind of surprising to me how much it mattered, just because of like compared to how much people talk about it, it's definitely um not as much of a or how do I say it? Like it's more important than uh people normally give it credit for, I guess.
I think
Maybe in
people
your life,
talk about
people
it
in
a
my
lot.
life give it a
Yeah.
lot of credit. It's
Yeah,
just
so
that
I don't know.
I agree with you in the sense that like I didn't place as much emphasis on it, and in some ways it almost felt like a little cheating ish, right? Um, like I remember there were a few times like my dad would be like, "Oh, X, Y, and Z" kind of thing, and or a friend of his friend has like some sort of opportunity, and I would like not really pursue that as seriously because I feel like I hadn't earned it. But at this point, I'm just like, if an opportunity comes my way, I'm gonna take it. Like, I shouldn't think too hard about how I get access to these opportunities in the first place. Although you're definitely right that like the more people you know, the more opportunities will come your way. So get those LinkedIn connections, y'all. Buff your
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
you definitely want to take all of your chances, even if you think you're not necessarily worth it. I think there's
Yeah.
one anecdote that's kind of interesting is that, do you guys know who J.J. Abrams is? I assume
Yeah,
you
the
do.
director, right? Yeah,
Right,
the
yeah.
director. He
So
directed
I mean, we
the
all
Star
know him
Wars,
now
Star
as
Trek.
a brilliant director and writer, and just generally like a film person, right? Like a brilliant one, right? But like his dad was like famous or something, like in the entertainment business,
Mm-hmm.
and then which got him a writing job to like write for Spider-Man in high school.
Interesting.
So like that's like, like he got a jump start himself. Like even though he had that, nobody now would like talk about him as if like he like faked his way to the top or something, right? Because he definitely makes good stuff.
But I mean, I think
so
like
I guess the point is like the connection will keep the foot in the door, but the rest is on you, kind of thing.
yeah,
yeah, sure. But what I'm trying to say is that you should always just take whatever opportunities that you get.
Well, I mean, we talked about before, like about I think we did on on the podcast about like I think this is during sorry during our VTuber episode we talked about like how like streamers it's like very difficult to like become popular, and one of the reasons one of the ways to actually get popular it like through connections through like offline TV and everything, like because if you have
being part of the Hololive
or being
group,
under the Hololive banner or like something like that, it matters so much to have like the connections between people, because like it's just so much easier to get. It doesn't matter how like the idea is like maybe there's maybe there's 1,000 people who are talented enough or skilled enough to do this position, but only one person will get it, and that one person will have a huge advantage if they know the people who are in charge, right? So it's like,
yeah, I think one of the reasons why, like, so there's a different thing. So I think networking is different from like your mom helped you get an internship, right? Because those
That's
aren't
called,
really the
nepotism, right?
right. Yeah, we have a different word for that.
yeah.
So like I think first of all, we should make sure that these two are not like grouped together, because I think networking is definitely brought up quite a bit. Just in general.
I would
think
say that
like non-familiar, you would categorize like networking as like non-familiar connections then?
Non-familial and like super close friends. So networking is like you met a dude at a game jam, and then from there you like worked on another thing, and then he knows this guy, and then that's how you got like,
yeah.
interview.
So would you guys consider your boarding school experience like sort of networking, because you get to know all these like the children of rich people, and like they're probably going to grow up to be successful? You know what I mean?
I would say it's a byproduct of going to boarding school, but
right. So that was like one of the reasons why those are one of the reasons why my parents were like, you should go to like a top school.
Yeah, that was I got that talk too.
Mm-hmm.
I got that talk.
And then I think another thing people don't like to talk about nepotism in the US is that there's a, I think in America there's like a feeling of, or like a general really negative understanding that there's like, I don't know, I would almost say that there's like almost a fetish of like the hard work, like like you put.
Yeah, but that's what I was talking
about. You mean the American dream?
Wait, what?
American dream fetish?
Yeah, kind of. Where like it's just like your skills, like your hard work and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about
like
earlier.
In the real world, obviously that's not how it actually works.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I mean, I don't mean to say that like obviously my mom was like networking or anything, because I didn't do anything in that sense to make that job happen. I just got like lucky because, and I fully recognize that, of course, but like I just mean connections in general, like parents, not like parents or whatever, but like it just matters so much to because like I have no business getting this job, right? Like it's like way outside my like should be way outside my scope in terms of like I go to like a mid-tier school, study a major that's not even that related to this job, and then I
don't think UCSC is a mid-tier school. I think
I mean if you're comparing no, it's a mid-tier school if you're comparing for jobs of this caliber, right? Because
sure, okay,
so this job actually they don't even hire from UCSD because UCSD is too low of it. Like it's not a good enough school for them to actually hire from UCSD, because like
any chance for me to show up, Michael, I will take it. Mid.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a Fortune like it's a Fortune 500 company, so they don't have to like settle for a school like UCSD. Basically, they basically only hire from Ivy Leagues, which is like, I mean, in its own way, it's a little bit,
which actually that's a good point, because I saw this thing basically like where someone was saying like all the value of an Ivy League education is in the screening process and not the actual education.
Yeah, because I would say like
being able to join that club and have the name Ivy is what's valuable, not like the actual
and the connections that you can make at the school. So like I would say that like I don't see a way that my UCSD education in CS would be any worse than having a similar degree at like an Ivy League school. But the difference would be that the professors there and maybe the other students there and the name of the degree is probably much more it is definitely much better at those other schools. But like in terms of just like the educational experience, I think UCSD can have the same level of education, like in my opinion. That's how
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah.
And I don't think like there's a certain level of school in which like you have to be above that level for that to be true. But like UCSD does fall under like above that level, in my opinion, for at least CS.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I generally agree. Yeah, I agree with the fact that people like value Ivy Leagues or just like higher quote unquote like ranked schools, not because you generally get like a better education than like the schools that are lower. Yeah.
But it also, I mean,
the one thing I would say though, maybe is like, their labs might be better funded, their professors might be more prestigious. Like, there's a bit of a knock-on effect there. So like the opportunities you'll get through this connection are definitely better. But I wouldn't say like, the day-to-day lectures, like the actual coursework would be significantly different. Because like, I mean, there's probably like a few different textbooks that you cycle around and everybody probably uses them, right? So it's like, it's not a super big deal on that front. But so dear listeners, do try to go to a good college if you can, but like it
definitely matters. Well, okay, but the reason, if you like think about it from top companies' perspective, it's like the colleges already did a screening process for you, kind of, because like
exactly,
like if you think about it, like the people who go to Ivy League schools in general are just going to be better because they were pre-screened to be better, and like that's not the case for everybody, because like they're like the top 1% at the top 1% at UCSD is probably better than the top or like the 50th percentile at like an Ivy League, but that's not really like a good estimate, right? Because like the average person at UCSD is definitely worse than the average person who goes to Harvard. So like that's just like fact of the matter.
Wait, I'm curious what you guys think about this. Like comparing your college classes, like your peers to like your peers from high school.
Well,
what do you guys think?
We'll go to public universities, so I feel like our caliber is a little lower. I think our peaks are just as high, if not higher. But
the peaks of the people at UCSD, like the people who I know who are absolutely at the top, are definitely significantly better than the people at the top of high school. But that's also not a fair comparison because of like the number of people.
Is a lot more people.
At UCSD. So like chances are there's going to be somebody who's better, right?
I mean, like, I can give you guys a stat from my school. It's like the overall university-wide, like, average ACT is like 19 or something. But, like, for my college, it's like 31. So it's like, it's a huge disparity.
Like, the college you're in is like the one that is, like, well-known and that a lot of people apply for.
Yeah. So, like, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, if you look at the, the whole macro look, it's like...
So what about comparing your college to, like, to high school?
Like my peers in my classes now to my peers in high school.
Yeah, your peers in your engineering classes.
There's a large variation, I would say. I think the peaks, like the smartest people I know here, are probably smarter than the smartest people I know in high school. But then again, I guess I compared to Kent. It's difficult to say because the metrics are different, right? Like the getting an A in like whatever AP Calc or whatever back then, is that how does that translate over to someone here who has like a really high GPA and like a research position kind of thing, right? It's not an apples to apples kind of comparison, but my gut feeling is to say that the people here are smarter. Like I know one guy, and dude, he graduated 3 semesters early and by the time he graduated, he had 2 published research papers with like other professors, the 4.0 GPA in electrical engineering, and he did a lot of drugs. So I have no idea how this man.
That's how he did it, because he did a lot of things.
maybe the drugs helped him out. But like, there's like a meme with like people we know is like, is this person even real? Like, is it not just some figment of our imagination that's just flawless?
Well, yeah, because okay, like one of my close CS friends like introduced me to another CS friend who he roomed with in like our freshman year. And he apparently got an internship last year at Amazon as a sophomore, and then already got a job offer before the beginning of his junior year at UCSD, which is like fucking insane, right?
Yeah. Like that's crazy, right? Like
he got first off, he got an internship like during COVID, and then like after that, he was able to get a job offer before he even entered his junior year. It's like there's people like that. So like it's really hard to say because like it's also like part of it. Even when I'm saying like in my CS class, like the amount of people in my CS classes are still like significantly more than I Kent, right? So like I would say like my position relative to like the rest of the people at Kent like is similar to my relative position to the rest of the people in the CS department. So like I'm like in that top like 10 to 15% or whatever. in either place. But like,
Mm-hmm.
so like in that way, I would say it's like kind of similar.
Okay, I definitely feel like I'm lower, like my relative rank, I guess. But I also feel like the bell curve for my situation is much wider. Like like the gaps between the best of the best and like just how are you here kind of people are like just oceanic almost.
Yeah, but
I would
I
say
would
like my is a little lower.
I would also say like at Kent, it's a little, or like in high school, it's hard to show that you're that like trans like that you can accomplish something, because like in general, if you talk about like people who are at the best of the best, even in high school, like you can't really show that you're like significantly better than a lot of people unless you do like, unless you're like
Other
I don't know.
projects and stuff.
Yeah. It's pretty difficult in high school. I would
That
say.
was definitely one thing about Kent that was a little irritating to me. Is like it felt restrictive, like things that were not within the scope of the school's ability to already provide is just not like there's no option to do it kind of thing. Like if you went to like a normal school, you just go to like an after school program or whatever, like or you just have a lot more freedom to do other things. You know what I mean? Like I
guess
had
it's
to. I don't know, man. I perhaps we'll save that for another time. But like my issues with like the pre department and the struggles I had to go through to get shit to happen there is just yeah. But that's another thing.
Yeah, I feel like the fact that you had a pre-department in your high school is already a massive advantage.
No, I talked to some people like in the high schools I go to here who are dedicated like STEM schools. It's not even close, dude.
Really? Okay.
It's not
Well, I guess
close.
if they're dedicated STEM, like science and technology schools, then I guess get that.
Well, okay, yeah, but also just like a normal school, I think like you would have had if your school didn't have it, you would have the option to go like elsewhere and do like an after school program or like do your own stuff. Like let's say I didn't go to Kent, right? Like and I lived like somewhere in Connecticut and I had a garage, right? Like that would be huge enough already for me, right? Like I could just have my own tools and my own workspace and I do there. The hell am I gonna do in my dinky dorm room? Like, I can't even run a 3D printer, right? Like my roommate has to sleep. So like it's not a fair
That's
comparison.
true. That's true.
So
There's
Yeah.
not a lot of
like,
this space.
this is it like especially for like if you're a coder right you like I give you a map book and I stick you on an island and you can still get your stuff done, but I need like infrastructure, right? Like
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
so yeah, but all right, game jam. I don't know.
Wait. But before we move on,
Yeah.
Tiger, do you have anything to add here about like how do you think people in your class are?
Oh wait, I was gonna comment on the very last thing. I was gonna say, okay. So you didn't have a garage, but I had a professional studio that only I used.
Screw you, dude. Screw you. I had the pre was like 24/7 and whatever. Like I mean, they never would have done that, but like just it was such a pain, such a pain. Dude. I mean, I'm glad it worked out for you, but not so much for me, I guess.
Anyways, okay. And then about the other thing, yeah, I think people in my classes are much better than from Kent. Although I don't really know about too much about like how good they are compared to me in a sense.
Yeah.
Because
you've only been to online school, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's only.
Well, okay. I mean, even then, for me, I only know based off like my relative, like, because like in general, teachers will release like, oh, this is like how like where you place in the class in terms of grades and stuff. So I'm only judging based off that. So
I haven't taken an actual hard CS based class yet.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm taking it this semester though, so we'll see.
I'm mostly judging based off like word of mouth and like in terms of my accomplishments, word of mouth compared to these people, and then like my grades relative to these people. So I'm not that like I'm just like giving an estimate of like 10 to 15% percentile, but I don't know if that, like how accurate that is, I guess. So
yeah. I would agree. It's like based off the vibes, you know what I mean? Like how far am I progressing relative to someone else? Like am I completing classes at a higher grade and quicker and like yeah, it's really just a feeling.
Yeah. That's yeah. Also another thing, I actually think CS in general is less based off of there's in the job search, there's less importance placed on the college or the university that you go to compared to many other industries.
That's
like finance.
Maybe possible compared to compared to other industries, but I would say it still matters a lot.
It still matters definitely, but less than other ones. So
yeah,
especially compared to like finance. What's the other
finance one? is probably one of the
consultancy.
The worst yeah,
it's probably
like a lot
finance,
of those like
pretty much.
So a lot of those top companies, like if you go to like Wall Street, they only will accept from Ivy League unless you have some sort of connections. So
but look where their Ivy League degrees get them now. GameStop.
I feel like if you're going, I feel like if you're going into college and then you're like don't know what to do, there's like not that many things you can pick. You either pick like one of the big STEMs, or like you have to go to law school or or medical school.
There's so many majors.
But, I mean, outside of
but I mean, most of the majors not gonna.
I don't know that much, but like outside of like CS, from what I've heard, like a lot of those other big STEMs actually will require you to get like a
absolutely.
a graduate degree as well.
There's also like pre-med, right,
which
fine. Is really open.
That's fine, but there's so many majors that even if you get a graduate degree, you're still in a tough spot.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of them, it's like either you become a professional, a professor, or like you
work in academia, or like
you work in academia, or like
you
get like the one job that's like not related to it, like or like that's not.
You get the job that's not really related to your major.
Yeah. I mean, it's
so.
It is pretty much.
Harsh. Yeah.
I mean, I would also say there's like the pre-med track, right? Like the
that's what I'm saying. So like it's either those STEMs,
right? Like,
law or medical school.
Yeah, dude, my mom still wants me to be a doctor. It's kind of funny.
What the
fuck? You're an engineer. Like
I know, right? Like I'm like 70% through my engineering degree. She's like, you should be a doctor, and I'm like,
no. All I'm saying is,
I feel like medical robotics. Is that good enough for you, Mom?
Like I get it if you're like studying like history or like art or something, and then your mom's like, you should still be a doctor, but you're already studying to be an engineer. It's actually like a legit engineering. It's not like civil engineering.
Rip all civil engineers.
Holy shit! I'm fucking ripping into people today. What the hell?
But no, I think she's saying that to be a half in jest. At least that's the way I'm taking it. I don't know. Maybe she'll be angry with me when I actually graduate. Like, what is this engineering degree? Like,
it's actually a legit. It's actually a legit one. It's not one of those like those lesser sought after ones, right?
Wait, what do you mean you're not a doctor or a lawyer? What?
It's like, but I'm an engineer. Isn't that, like the third point on the trifecta of making Asian parents proud.
Yeah. Wait, do you guys think it's doctor first or lawyer first?
I think it's doctor first. Doctor first, and then lawyer second.
Engineer is definitely third.
I agree with that.
Doctor has the most prestige. Dude, you could be like Google, like senior developer, a Google blah 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 engineer, but like the Asian mom comes by, doctor, and you just nothing.
I don't know if you guys have heard this joke, but okay, it's not my joke, but I watched it from I heard it from a stand-up. Forgot his name. It's a Malaysian dude. I forgot his name, but he said like Asian parents really want to be a doctor, but like the last thing you can convince an Asian parent to do is to go see a doctor.
Oh shit! Yeah.
This is like hilarious.
It's pretty funny.
Because it thinks it's a scam and shit. But
yeah.
Anyways.
Okay.
It's great.
We can move on to the next topic.
But it's not in a good spot, but yeah.
I think it's pretty funny. Okay, so the next topic is Game Jam. I don't know how much you guys want to talk about this, but
so what is a Game Jam, Michael?
Yeah, so over the we didn't have a episode last weekend. Wait, was it last? It was 2 weekends ago, right?
2 weeks from now.
Yeah. So we didn't have an episode last weekend, but we had a Game Jam. Tiger helped me a little bit on.
Wait, what?
He helped me.
Wait, so what is a Game Jam?
Yeah. Okay. So what a Game Jam is? So are you familiar with hackathons?
Vaguely, yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'll just explain it.
Where people get together and congratulate each other and how smart they are. I'm kidding. They like they it's usually like, oh, hackathon for like social good, whatever, and you're like supposed to develop a project in like a short amount of time. That's supposed to be like design sprints and stuff, right?
Yeah, kind of. So basically, it's like a game jam is kind of like the game development version of that. So what happens is basically it's hosted by some sort of organization. I mean, depending on how big the game jam is, it tends to be like for this one, it was like about 50 people. You get in teams. Sometimes you do it before the game jam. Sometimes you do it during the game jam. And then basically you have some sort of topic for what your game is going to be based off. So what that means is like they'll give you kind of a vague topic which can be put into a lot of different situations. So in this one specifically, the topic was quote unquote, I didn't sign up for this. So
Quote unquote, okay.
So that's the topic of the game jam. So when you have, it's supposed to be a relatively vague topic. Yeah. So basically, you have to you have to make a game within generally a short amount of time. It depends on the game jam, but it can be 24 hours. It can be 48 hours. In this case, it was just over a week, I think, or actually, I think it was just 1 week. So when then you have to develop a game over the course of that amount of time, and at the end, you kind of get judged for how good it is in general. Like, so this is actually the first time I've done this, despite having I've put a lot of time into game development in the past. This is like the first time I felt that I both had like the time to do it and like.
This is an external event.
So it was at UCSD. This one was at UCSD. So it was like it wasn't like that big of an event. It was like a relatively small scale event, but I felt like it was a good opportunity to take. So I wanted to try it at least once. I don't know if I'll do it again. It was like pretty fun, but then like at the same time, I may have not gotten the best experience doing it because I basically did an entire thing myself, and it kind of ended up turning out shit. So
okay, can I actually? I don't think I said this, but I actually think the game that you came out with the game jam is better than Dungeon Sweeper.
Really? What the fuck?
So okay, so I know you put a lot more work on the other one, but if anything, I think this just shows that you're improving with making games and you're more efficient. But I think overall, despite the game jam game kind of like parts of the game being boring. Like if I exclude the math puzzles and stuff, I think it's a better made game. It has a story. The background actually I think looks a bit better than the background in like the art. The background in the
I didn't do the background for either game for the record, so I don't really know.
Oh really?
Yeah. Okay. Both in Dungeon Sweeper and in this because I didn't do the background in either yet, but yeah.
All right. But I think the art is better in this one, and then despite like you didn't really finish this one, I think it's better thought out.
Okay.
I guess.
I mean, I guess
so you described it to me because I don't. The only game I know you've developed is the roguelike. Is that the Dungeon Sweeper? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what was this game like?
So okay, I think like my biggest pitfall with this, and if I were to do another game jam, what I would actually do is probably my biggest pitfall was actually that I had a grand idea kind of, but then in the end, like because I was developing by myself and I had to do a lot of the work myself.
Yeah.
And that was mostly my fault in that sense because like I chose not to recruit other people, but I kind of overestimated how much time it would take, or underestimated/overestimated how much time it would take to develop. So like it ended up being that like I put together at the end kind of like a shitty product of what like my original idea was. So anyway, the point is basically the game is kind of supposed to be like it's supposed to be kind of like a horror game a little bit where you get like a college student signs up for a like an experiment or whatever, and it's like an overnight experiment, but then like he discovers that after he goes to the experiment that like it's like kind of sinister and that they're going to like kill him or something. It's not like super well fleshed out, but like the game itself has kind of a few different stages where like in the first stage you kind of like wander around and there's like a kind of a little bit of a riddle, and then
so this is like an RPG.
It's not really an RPG because like there's no progression. It's like pretty short. Like in terms of total playtime, it's like maybe 10 minutes. and that's like being generous. And then there's like a few platformer sections, and then there's like a puzzle which ended up being too hard to solve because overestimated how difficult it would be. But yeah, if I were to like do it again, kind of the idea of the game is supposed to be like it's an escape game where like you're supposed to, it feels like you're supposed to be escaping from somebody who's pursuing you, but then like a lot of the aspects of it were kind of like not handled super well, I guess, because of the short time frame. So I think like part of it is, if I were to do it again, I would try to like make sure that there's like either it has to be shorter, it has to be easier to complete some of those sections. But yeah.
Based on what Tiger said, do you think it would be better for your overall development if you did multiple smaller projects, kind of like this game jam thing, instead of like these long, big projects?
I think you absolutely should work with not your like, okay, unless you have a friend who's also really passionate about making games, but you should definitely work with people who are like just as passionate as you are making games. Because I think another thing you learn is probably just bringing friends on isn't the best, right?
Well, I mean,
yes.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wasn't really expecting like specifically the two people who did end up coming on, like Tiger and
I didn't. Okay, so I didn't actually make anything related to the game itself.
Yeah.
So it was really just you and the other person.
Yeah. But he did as much work as I would have expected him to at that point. It was more so like I should have like there was just like not enough pre-planning, because like basically I saw the event happening and I kind of forgot about it before. Like I knew I was going to do it, but then I kind of forgot about it until like the weekend of, and then I was just like, and then like, so like I didn't have enough pre-planning going into the project in the first place, because like in general, if I wanted to put together a team, I probably should have done so before the game jam anyway. So
right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like overall, just not enough planning to be done there, and then like
it still sounded like a good experience.
Yeah, like it was still fun, even though it kind of turned out not that good. But I mean, it's whatever. That's that. But
like,
what?
Wait, what?
I said I think I was quoting Jotaro when he was saying like Koishi's ground, but I said Michael instead. Never mind.
Sorry, I did not get the reference.
I didn't even hear you, but I also haven't watched JoJo, so I'm sorry.
You guys suck.
Like, as long as you come away like learning some stuff, then it's like definitely worth it, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's completely fair.
Yeah.
Kind of talked about job search already. You guys want to do scripted?
Wait, I'm curious. There's got to be like engineering equivalent things like for like hackathons and game jams, right? Like
there's like there's hackathons, and then there's like kind of like startup sprints and stuff. But I haven't really participated in those. Just haven't really had an interest to, I guess, ish. Also, it's one of those things where like I don't want to do it myself, so I'd have to find good teammates, and I haven't so far. But I don't know. Like maybe it would be different. Like if I went in as an individual and they match me to teams, kind of thing. But how should I put this? I don't like the idea of kind of rushing through something like that. Maybe if I were to treat it like it's different from like game for making games, I think, because like the technical, like game design is not just a technical endeavor, right? It's not like the actual coding of the thing. It's like the actual design of the game, right? Like that's something that can be practiced through a game jam. But I am less sold on the idea of like improving my engineering skills at a hackathon or so and so. It's more like maybe a place to show off what you've already learned, right? Like
that's
it's actually the thing kind of. Yeah, go on.
This kind of ties back to what we were talking about earlier. It's actually like hackathons, and I assume game jams are actually a pretty good way of networking, because you can talk to other contestants, you can talk to judges, you can get their business card and then like shoot them an email, right? This is actually a pretty good place, and doesn't really, you don't have to put like much or like invest much into it. It's really just like a pretty short event, and then you get to meet some people. So actually, it's one of the ways to network.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I personally don't think I have issues with networking. I think I'm doing a good job on that front so far. But you're right. I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do one. I don't know. If an
I think
opportunity
it
comes
was
up,
like a good experience. Well, okay, I'm actually going to participate in my first hackathon as well sometime in February because like one of my friends asked if I was interested, and I was like, sure, why not? But I definitely felt like it was a different experience because like one thing is like I'm not like a fast worker really, or like I'm not like very motivated to work on something, especially when there's no deadline. So like it was nice to be able to do something where it's not something I would normally develop anyway, and then it let me like it gave me a deadline that like I had to work on it during this period, and so like there was a lot of benefits I feel like to doing it. So uh, I'm not sure if I would do it again. Maybe I might try it again sometime. Actually, it might be kind of interesting to work under somebody else, like have somebody else kind of be the lead of the project, and then just kind of contribute. But definitely was a good experience in my opinion. Like I had fun. Okay, we can move on to the next thing. Do you guys want to go through the 3x3s first, or do you want to go through this part? Because this is part of the scripted versus non-scripted stuff. I actually have as an addendum to my 3x3, so I can talk about.
So I think 3x3s first, right? Because then we can almost talk about like the scripted versus non-scripted in our 3x3s. I don't know.
Yep. Sure.
Okay.
All my 3x3s are scripted, so I guess it wouldn't really matter. But yeah.
Yeah, but I have a.
You want to go first?
I can go first. I don't think it matters, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Michael, make sure you record like the graphic of his thing.
Okay. So
okay. Let me.
Share
I posted mine in the chat, but I marked it as a spoiler, so don't turn on. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just sent mine.
Yeah. Let me download, or let me open it in my browser, and then I'll share that.
Yeah. The resolution is really low because I did it on a website, and then after I did it, I had to make an account to download it. So I was like, "Fuck it, I'll just screenshot it."
Let me. Oh, I did it in
GIMP. I did mine in Word. I just put it like I made a 3x3 table and I put photos in it. Which
I mean, I'm too lazy to do it in GIMP. Like
I did it in GIMP because
website. I'm like too lazy to actually do it. So I used a website, and afterwards I make
Okay, can you guys see
an account? So I was like, screw it, I'll just screenshot it. So that's why the resolution's kind of low.
That's fine.
Okay, so walk it.
Okay, so why don't you guys tell me like what you can recognize, and then those I'll touch on, but then we'll talk about those first, and I'll talk about the ones that you guys don't know.
I recognize Pokemon, Digimon, League of Legends.
All right.
Oh wait, this is split. Right, so you put 2 in 1. Okay, so World of Warcraft, and then BoJack, and I think that's an Ed Sheeran album cover, and then I guess Chelsea Football Club.
Yeah, that's Multiply.
That's one with Photograph,
I don't know what
right?
the songs in Multiply are though, so.
It's the one we listen to the most. So like this starts off with 1, and then it's let's see if I can still remember. It's 1, and then it's I messed up. No, it's not it.
One of them called Photograph, right? Because I like
the second song. I'm a mess. Yeah, I think it's
Divide
I'm a mess or something. And the third song
is Divide his most popular.
No, yeah. Divide is the most popular one,
okay,
but
so
that's only because he was most popular when he released it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But he definitely achieved mainstream success with Multiply.
Yeah.
Plus was popular like in the UK, but it wasn't like that big worldwide.
Okay.
Multiply was like the big one with like Photograph and Thinking Out Loud, Don't Sing. You know, those songs are all on Multiply. So since we're already talking about this, I'll just say why I put Multiply here. It's I wouldn't if I were make like my top my like favorite 10 like top 10 albums, this probably wouldn't make it, but it's here because like this is probably the album why I like sing or like make music, is because I really liked this stuff. This like really got me into music, which is kind of funny because Ed Sheeran is like considered to be a very like cheesy and like.
What? I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I'm just saying it's like considered in the community to be very like normie. It's like a person like what? Sorry. Yeah. I mean,
get it.
exactly. It's kind of like if like a big anime fan put out and just put like SAO like straight.
Yeah, I get it.
Or like One Piece, right? It's like that. It's like the equivalent of that. But I didn't explain that. Yeah, I put it here because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be like singing or making music if it wasn't for this album. So that's why this is here. You guys recognize Pokemon, Digimon? I put it here because I know I'm supposed to put like animes and shows, and I was like, I don't know what to put other than BoJack, so I was like, I'll put these two. So these are probably my if I made a list of how much I liked a show when I watched it, these two would probably be the first and second.
Wow,
really? Wait, when did you watch these? As a kid?
As a kid,
as like a kid, as a elementary school. I don't know, like 3rd grade, 4th grade.
I guess a little bit of a spoiler. I didn't end up putting Dragon Ball on my list, but I was actually heavily considering it just because like that was my like introduction into anime and stuff. So like that was definitely like something I was considering. But
I think my actual introduction to anime is Fairy Tail, but because that was the show that like I watched in Japanese, like with the sub, and these two I both watched dubbed in Chinese back in the day. So like these, I didn't really consider these anime, and I think most anime fans wouldn't consider these anime, right? But I mean, technically they're anime.
So. Yes. No, I would consider them anime.
I would consider them anime, but I would have them like it's not like the same as if you were like talking about like SAO or whatever, right?
Yeah, because like when I watched these shows, like I have no idea what anime is, right? Like the only like anime I've seen are probably these two, like Doraemon. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Doraemon.
Yeah, that, and then there's another like child anime thing. It's based on, I know the Chinese name, but it's like this little kid basically.
Detective Conan.
And he's like really stupid.
Oh wait.
But but because I watched it way back in Chinese, so I have no idea what the English name is.
Yeah.
But you know, it's fine. Yeah, so that's why these two are here. World of Warcraft and League. I think so. I've spent too much of my life playing these games, and at this point, I hate both of them. But
I mean, it's a good representation of yourself.
It's here because this is like it has affected my life a lot, right?
Okay.
So like League was like middle school, high school. Warcraft. So League was like majority in middle school, but also I played in high school, and then WoW was like majority in high school, but I started in middle school, kind of thing.
Yeah.
BoJack. I think we talked about this, right?
Briefly,
episodes. Briefly, I think. So wait, Skylar, have you seen much of BoJack? I think you said you've seen like half of it, right, or something.
I watched like half the first season or something, and I was like, I don't get what all the hubbub is about. Like everybody's just an asshole, and like I'm not really engaged that much.
Well, that's kind of the point, because like people are assholes, right? But yeah, I mean the first season, I think pretty much everyone will agree that the first season's by far the worst one. So it's just but BoJack is really really well written. The story is really really good. The writing is good. The characters are good, but it's definitely one of those things that I might even suggest people to just like skip the first season, because like nothing that important happens. Maybe just like watch like one of those like 5-minute like recaps on YouTube. But BoJack is definitely my favorite show. It's really good. So that's why.
So if you say I could just skip this first season, I'm just gonna skip the first season. I'm just gonna start with season 2.
I don't remember exactly what like plot things they had in season 1. So I might like just watch one of those really short recap like YouTube vids if you want. But Chelsea Football Club is the soccer team, football team I support. So I used to call it football, and then I called it soccer, and then I called it football again because I moved away from the US, right? So and then now I have to call it soccer again because I'm talking to you guys. But
I mean, I'll understand. Like if you say Chelsea football, like I'm not gonna be like, oh, that's an American football team. Like, I've never heard of it. I mean, like, I'm familiar enough with like these things that like obviously.
Right. Like I think I don't know exactly, but I probably spent more time watching soccer games than like watching shows. So I was like, I might as well just put it here.
So, that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been supporting this club since like 2011, and yeah, the few years I didn't really follow soccer was like the few years in high school. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but after Ken, I'm like, yeah, I'm following soccer again. So, anyways, that's great. And then the rest of them are albums. So the first one is Beatles' Sergeant Pepper's. I think that's probably my favorite album of all time. It's really good.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm gonna assume you guys haven't heard it. I don't know.
You guys heard songs, but I don't really know. Like, I'm not that familiar with Beatles and stuff. So.
Right, because I know you guys don't really listen to music, so. No.
Well, not in that much detail. It's just I like the noise, and I save the noise, and I listen to the noise.
Right,
again.
like you guys listen to music like how I like watch films and shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're fucking casuals.
Yeah. So like I assume most people in our generation haven't heard it because these songs aren't the songs on this album. Let me think. Most of them, I think the only song you guys might know is "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds" because that's like mentioned in textbooks.
Yeah,
it's like mentioned in textbooks and shit.
Completely unanswered.
Okay, but most of the songs on this album they don't get that much radio play.
I see.
The most like big Beatles songs aren't really on this one. And then the next one over is Porter Robinson's Worlds, which I think you guys probably heard some songs, right? Because at least this is like
Porter Robinson. He's the shelter guy, right? That's what I know him for.
Yes, he's a shelter guy. Yeah, he's a shelter guy. Although calling him the shelter guy is kind of feels bad, man, because that's like I don't know what analogy to make, but that's like kind of sad.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely the one that is most recognizable from Porter Robinson. I've definitely heard some other Porter Robinson stuff, but like not.
This is his most. This is probably not his most popular stuff, but this is like okay. He's definitely the most popular stuff among his fans, but it's probably not the most like mainstream popular stuff from his discography. But this album is really good. It's I don't want to go too deeply into what it's about, but it's titled Worlds because. It's basically just it's like about like worlds that he has lost, and on one of the songs, it's actually about he has a song called I think it's Goodbye to a World. Shit! Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot to a world. Yeah. Goodbye to a World, which is about one of his favorite MMOs shut down, and then he couldn't like go back to play it. So that's interesting.
That's pretty interesting.
But anyways, this album is really good. Most of it is a duet between like a robot and a person. So it's interesting.
Whoa, that's kind of interesting.
It's a fun album.
I might check that out.
Then. Really good one. If you like electronic stuff, house stuff, then this is like definitely you should check this out. And then the last two are both Phoebe Bridger albums, and I don't think you guys will like it too much. She makes like indie folk is probably the easiest way, or just alternative in general.
I've heard some of her stuff. Like I don't hate it, but like it's not.
I think yesterday I literally just played the whole album, Stranger in the Alps, which is the one on the bottom left.
Okay.
Like
I don't hate it, but it's also like it's not that memorable for me. Like I
totally get that. So I think Punisher is definitely one that you have to listen to quite a lot to really like, because there's just so many small things that you don't hear on the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's definitely the best lyricist that I've ever like heard.
Okay, I see.
Probably one of the best songwriters, like outside of pop, because she doesn't really write pop stuff. So it's not stuff that you would hear on like mainstream radio or mainstream just stuff in general.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's about it, right? I think we covered. Also, okay. So before I stop talking about this, I actually do like Digimon more than Pokemon, like the anime. If we just talk about the anime,
Yeah, I've heard that the
I have no
anime
opinion
for
about that.
Digimon is better, but like,
dude, the anime for Digimon is so good.
I've
I can't go back to watch it because I know I'm not gonna like it now, but it's so fucking good.
heard that it was quite good from like my sources.
Yeah, it's quite good. It's very. There are a few that are very sad, which is kind of weird because it's a children's show, right?
Yeah.
Ironically enough, I did not watch a lot of anime when I was a child. Like when I was the age where you would watch like Pokemon, Digimon, I'd watch like Ben 10, dude. Ben 10 was my shit.
Dude,
Yeah,
also
I watched
Digimon
Ben 10 as
season
well.
1, Digimon's technically an isekai. So I mean,
Yeah,
they started the
First
trend.
isekai.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Wait. So it's season 1, season 3, and season 4 are isekais. Technically,
Yeah.
they all go to new worlds and shit. It's always sad because in the end, the main characters have to say goodbye, right? So it's kind of sad.
Okay.
It's actually very sad because like Pokemon, where Ash always is like goes on to the next thing. Like they have to leave the world and like go back to their old lives and like grow up and shit, right?
I see.
So it's kind of. It was very sad when I watched it back then. I definitely won't think it's like that sad if I watch it now. But
I mean, kids shows like when you watch shows as a kid, it's like it's a little bit different, right? It's like you have a different sort of patience for like shows, and then you also like have a like different understanding and view of the world at the time. So it's not the same as if you would watch those shows now.
Mm-hmm. Actually, before I end up, I just want to talk a little bit more about BoJack. Well, not a little bit more. Just like I realized I didn't really say like what BoJack is about for people that haven't watched it.
Yeah,
it's mostly it's the main themes that are basically like depression, substance, like addiction, and then like regret. And I think those themes are like really interesting to like watch because you kind of like watch someone else go through.
Maybe
what struck me when I first saw the BoJack was like the opening was like back in the 90s. I was in a really famous TV show, like that's like the lyrics for the opening, right?
Yep.
Like that was the thing that was most interesting about it to me. And then but they just kind of like
then I think if you without like actually exploring that, then you should definitely watch it because it's really just about that. But you honestly just like skip season 1. That's what I tell people to do. Is usually just like skip season. It talks a lot more about like his parents, like what happened in his life, like things he regrets and stuff.
Do the anthropomorphized characters like play a role in anything? Like, does it matter that they're animal people?
No, it's really just a device for like gags.
Okay, because I was like, throughout the first few episodes I saw the first season, I'm like, it doesn't seem like a big deal. Like it didn't, like
it's not. It doesn't.
I guess like Zootopia. Like Zootopia was like a bit of like class warfare and like kind of.
No, it's literally just like it's a joke. Yeah. If they replaced all of the characters with humans, I would still really like the show. It wouldn't really change. It's technically a comedy, but I don't find it that fun. I don't find it that funny. It's but the story is really, really good, and it gets really depressing later on as it kind of goes through and looks at like all of his like, all the things like that happened to him and that he did that he doesn't like. But it still like haunts him and stuff. So it's definitely interesting. And then the ending was really, really good. I think in most shows, I don't I'm not like completely satisfied with the ending for most shows, but I'm definitely very satisfied with this, with the ending to BoJack. So, yeah.
All right, I'll definitely check it out then.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of interested. It sounds like something that I might like, so I might check it out.
Yeah. All right, that's about it for my 3x3, my 3x3.
Okay. Right. Do you want to go next, or?
Actually, I'll go next then because I think you want to tie in to something with yours.
Sure.
So yeah, click on the spoiler thing.
Okay.
Does any of that surprise you, or like shows you don't recognize? Well, I guess Tiger. I don't know how much you'll recognize here.
I actually don't know the top left.
So the top
Wait, Michael, your stream is still showing mine. I think.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, okay, so I recognize Attack on Titan and One Punch Man. Wait, I also recognize Kaguya because I watched that a little bit, right?
Yep. Also, it's right there. Yeah, it says Kaguya-sama.
Wait, is that the? Okay, what's the thing in the bottom right?
Bottom right is Grand Blue. Okay, so it's. Okay, so I recognize everything except for middle.
Oh, the Gundam in the middle.
Oh wait, middle right is Shakugan and Oshana, right?
Yeah.
And then what is the middle? Is that Gundam or is that
Gundam?
Zero?
That's Gundam 00. It's one of those alternate universe series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then what's top left?
Top left is Rurouni Kenshin.
Oh, Rurouni Kenshin. Okay.
But
so
it's the OVA.
Wait,
it's not like the original anime.
Wait, I've seen the one on the right, like way back in the day when I actually watched anime, like the red, the one on the right, like middle right.
Oh, that's Shakugan Oshana.
That's like a
I've seen this, but I don't remember what happens. Like what it's about now. It's about like dead people or something. No.
Yeah. There are people. Well, I mean, yeah, sort of.
I can't remember what it was about, but yeah, I've seen this one.
I'll go through all these, and I'll kind of highlight why I chose them. Of course, all these are shows that I like.
I'm not I'm kind of surprised about One Punch Man and Durarara being like. I know that I'm not surprised that you like these shows. I'm surprised that you like them enough to put it on this list. It is like how I would put it.
Right.
I don't know that much about the middle show. It's like some alternate universe of Gundam, but yeah, I just don't know that much about mecha shows in general.
So the reason why Gundam 00 is on there is because it was my first Gundam.
Yeah.
And it's still the Gundam that I enjoyed the most. Maybe because it was my first Gundam, but I remember being very, very, very enthralled with its world. Like to give you the premise, the Gundams belong to essentially what is a terrorist organization, and their stated goal is to wipe out conflict through force. And so the world at that point has been split into like 3 mega superpowers, and they're fighting over like oil and shit and whatever. And then this Gundam organization called Celestial Being comes out and is basically like, you're going to stop fighting now, or else we're just going to kill or not we're just going to kill you, but we're going to end the conflict by force. So they will literally just like deploy their super weapons, the Gundams, to battlefields and like just wipe out all combatants and just be like, you will stop fighting now. And like their stated goal is to wipe out conflict by force. And all the pilots of the Gundams are like victims of war. Like the protagonist was a child soldier. The guy in the green was a victim of a terrorist attack. The guy in orange was like the result of like a super soldier program kind of thing. And the guy in purple is like a completely artificial human, and he has like other backstory things. But I remember being like super enthralled by this, and I thought that idea was so cool. It's not a unique thing in Gundam. Like Gundam, even though it's like a series that has a lot of war and a lot about conflict, it's ultimately a series that's advising against conflict, and it shows why. Like in the end, like it's gonna sound so cheesy, but like understanding one another is like the path to peace, kind of thing. In Gundam 00, first of all, I really liked the aesthetic of the robots. It was like just, maybe it was because I was like younger and like just that kind of thing appealed to me a lot. But like even to this day, I still think the designs are really, really clean. Like just the sharp kind of angular lines and like just kind of this classic kind of mecha look. That doesn't look too dated. Like the original Gundam, like the ARC 782, is kind of dated, like as a look. You know what I mean? But like these ones are like sleek and like they don't. It's not overly industrial, and like the way the propulsion system works is basically like it's an omnidirectional propulsion system that doesn't use like jet fumes or stuff. So they're not. It's not like super realistic in that sense, but it looks friggin' awesome. Season 1, I think, of Gundam. So Gundam 00 has 2 seasons and then a movie, and I liked season 1 more than season 2. Can I kind of talk about spoilers? I don't think you guys will ever watch this.
Well,
no, yeah.
Okay. But before you continue, actually, was something I was curious about is like, what did you choose like as qualifiers for this list? Like, what did you like? How did you choose these 9? Like, I assume that they're not just like these are your top 9 or whatever. Like, what did you choose as like anime that would qualify for this list?
I generated as many just off the top of my head that I was like, okay, this. And then I went to Mal and I looked up the top ones to see if I missed anything. And then I thought about like the categories that they would kind of represent, the things in anime as a medium that I thought they represented well.
Okay.
And then I had like a few honorable mentions, and then I thought about like what I kind of want to express with these shows. Like the bottom three, I think really capture like my sense of humor, like what I find funny, or like Kaguya Flashman and Grand Blue, but like the like just shows that make me laugh, right? Like I really considered swapping out Grand Blue for Konosuba, but Grand Blue kind of hit a little bit closer to home because it's like a sort of clubbish fraternity type of thing, and I'm in a fraternity, so I really just like that dynamic a lot.
Yeah.
Which is why I kind of so Konosuba was close, but I ended up choosing Grand Blue, and also just because the manga is so good. It's so good.
I agree.
It's so good. It's so meme worthy. It's just like it's very rare that like stuff will actually make me like laugh out loud like consistently and like just
it's
as hard
really
as Grand Blue does. Like I like there are times where you have to like just stop reading the manga and like pause it and be like, oh my god, this is fucking hilarious, and like it's just so good. And then of all these shows, I think Shakugan no Shana is definitely the weakest. But the reason why I chose it is because I feel like it's very indicative of a period in my life where I liked that type of show. And
wasn't it one of your first anime?
Type is that?
Wasn't it one?
It was probably like my fourth or fifth ish. Like,
yeah, I remember
it was during
about this. Yeah,
it was during my time in Hong Kong that I really liked the show. And I have some personal memories associated with it because there was a girl I kind of liked who was kind of like the protagonist, but well, actually, not the heroine, which is kind of embarrassing to think back on, but that was true. And so I just thought it was like a very good kind of like similar to why like Tiger chose Digimon Pokemon. They're not like quote unquote like really good. It's just indicative of a show that kind of captured a moment in my life. I think other shows that could have gone in that category would have been like Soul Eater, like my first anime, or like any of the kind of really mid like action shonen of that day. Like I thought about using Bleach.
I think Soul Eater is a little bit surprising that you didn't put on here, just because like I've heard you rave about that a lot.
I like Soul Eater a lot, and I think in my honorable mentions, I'm pretty sure I put it there. Yeah, Soul Eater. It's probably like technically stronger than Shakugan no Shana, but I just felt like Soul Eater was kind of like one of the things I liked about Soul Eater. I liked the ensemble, right? Like I liked the fact that it was a female protagonist. Like looking back on it, like that was very unique to have a female protagonist in a shonen series. I really liked the kind of like the world building.
Right.
I mean, yeah, that's actually still really unique. And to have like competent female characters, what? Never done before. Like you're not Sakura just on the side being absolutely useless. No, like that was really cool to me. But the more the story kind of went on, like first of all, the anime had like an anime original ending that was okay. It was kind of ass pulley. And then the manga just like they did things that I liked, and then towards the end, I was like, I'm not a fan of that kind of thing. The way they ended the series, I'm like, okay, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read the manga, but I get that feeling.
Yeah, it's just like it wasn't like the kind of slam dunk that I wanted it to be, and I also couldn't shake the feeling that I was looking at the whole thing through kind of nostalgia, kind of tinted glasses. So I didn't want to like let that color my opinion too much. I mean, that's kind of rich considering I chose Shakugan no Shana partially for nostalgic reasons. But
I mean,
I do feel like
important.
Well, I would also put them like in the same category of show. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah.
Representative.
Well, okay, I get it.
But yeah, and then Rurouni Kenshin is a new favorite of mine, relatively new.
Which one is that one?
It's top.
So that is the top, and I think that's the one show that. Yeah, I think that's the one show that Michael didn't know, right?
Yeah.
And so Rurouni Kenshin, the original,
just by the graphic, I guess I've heard of it. I just don't know that much about it.
So the reason why I chose Rurouni Kenshin is it is at its heart a really competent and really kind of like emotionally resonant and deep story with like a layer of like shonen-ish kind of like cliches and like the kind of zany action scenes and zany comedy scenes sprinkled on top. And the reason why I chose
like a synopsis or something about like what it's like generally about.
Right. So Rurouni Kenshin follows the story of Himura Kenshin, who so this takes place after what is known as the Bakumatsu War, which is basically the war that happened after Japan came in contact with the West and they started to modernize. And so the shogun,
so it's samurai. It's historical.
It is historic. It's actually very.
I feel like I might like this because it is historical, and that like period definitely fascinates me. It's like that late Victorian kind of thing.
But it's it's set after the wars. The wars already concluded.
Oh, okay.
And it's beginning at the Meiji era, and
Right.
so Kenshin, the protagonist, was an assassin for the imperialists during the war, and so he's like killed a bunch of people and blah blah blah, and he's super scarred and PTSD'd by that. And so the story is about him atoning for the lives that he's taken in his own way and living out in this new quote unquote era of peace, the Meiji era. And the so you probably can't notice it actually, not in this sword, but like the main sword that Kenshin uses throughout the series is called a sakabato, which is a reverse blade katana. So the katana's the edge is on the back of the sword, so you can't actually like slice people when using it normally. And so basically, it's like a vow to never kill again, kind of thing. And demons from his past repeatedly come up to try and tempt him and like make him lose his way, and also threaten the safety of Japan and like the ones he loves, kind of thing. And Kenshin himself is a really, really deep character, and the reason why I chose Rurouni Kenshin though is specifically its connection to the ethos of the sword. So I'm a kendoka. I practice kendo, and in the very first episode, in the very first chapter, the heroine, she owns a dojo, and it's assaulted by thugs, and she's like cornered and stuff. Mm-hmm. And Kenshin comes in to save the day, and basically the thugs are like basically hand over your dojo and hand over your land, kind of thing. And the heroine is like, no, the sword is meant to give life. The sword is meant to protect, kind of thing. And the protagonist walks in and he delivers one of my favorite monologues in anime. He's basically like, no, that's the delusions of a child. That's what someone who has never gone to war, who has never killed, who has never actually used swordsmanship would say. Swordsmanship is the art of killing, and no matter how you kind of dress it up, that is the fact of the matter. But I would prefer a world where what you say is accepted as truth. And that I want that your ideals to be actually be reality. And so that to me was like a very kind of mature, emotional bedrock for all of what happens in the series. And actually, I think I found the quote somewhere. Okay, yeah. So the initial monologue he delivers is: a sword is a weapon. Kenjutsu is the art of killing. Whatever pretty words you use, that is its true nature. Kaoru Dono, who's the heroine, Kaoru Dono's words are those of one who has never dirtied their hands, a utopian ideal. However, when I compare the two, I like Kaoru Dono's idealism better than Kenjutsu's true nature. If one can ask so much, I want the world to accept her ideals as its true nature. And to me, that's like really resonant as someone who studies the martial arts and someone who really has an appreciation for the martial arts. That ethos is very, very, very resonant with me, because it's ultimately you're studying violence, right? Like ultimately you are arming yourselves with, if not tools to commit violence, then tools to guard against it, and to kind of have that integrated with yourself, right? And so I love the way that he acknowledges the brutal reality and the violence of it, and like his words hold weight because he is a murderer, he was a soldier, he was an assassin. But the fact that he's willing to kind of be like, but we can kind of rise above that and try to rise above that, right? And have your ideal be accepted as reality was something that I thought was just incredibly beautiful. And like even after the first chapter, I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish the series. That was really good, type thing. And so I really love the setting of the story. I really love Kenshin as a character, his ethos and his struggle and the way that I can connect with that as not a swordsman, but like as someone almost like imitating swordsmanship. Like I don't want to call kendo an imitation of kenjutsu. It's more like the evolution of kenjutsu. And there's actually an arc in the story that deals with that, like the kendo in the modern age as an exercise not in killing but of self development. And so that is why I really really love Rurouni Kenshin. And it's like the picture that I chose is of the OVA. It's not the OVA. And this OVA adapts a specific arc within the story and just strips it of all the like zany kind of cartoonish and like anime humor and like the kind of like 80s camp that kind of permeates a lot of the stories then. And it's just like the raw story of it. And it's so good. And as a standalone, I think it's like 4 episodes. It's really, really hard to top. It has like great music. The animation still holds up even after all this time. The voice acting was on point, and it was just very, very resonant. And everybody should check it out. And the live action movies were also like not shit, which is unheard of for anime movies, right, Michael?
I haven't watched a lot of them, but I mean, all I've heard is bad things. So
if you watch any live action anime, make your Rurouni Kenshin. Sword fighting scenes are awesome. It's just good, dude. There's nothing I can say except it's good.
Okay. Okay. So
Attack on.
I feel like Attack on Titan and Gurren Lagann don't really need that much of an explanation as to why they're on the list. To be honest, like
they're honest. They're just solid. They're good.
They're basically generally almost like worldly, or like I don't know how to say it, universally acclaimed as like classics, or like
The one thing I will say though is I had a difficult time choosing between Gurren Lagann and Kill, because I watched Gurren Lagann first, and I don't think I understood it as well as I do Kill la Kill because I watched it kind of later. But the summary of it is, I think Gurren Lagann is like the boys' Chad way to masculinity kind of thing, whereas Kill la Kill is like the female inversion of that, which is why I feel like there's more of an emphasis on like sexuality, because like the female is like the more sexualized of the two genders and whatever. But like point being, I'm a guy, and so I think I can kind of relate to the masculine journey more than the feminine journey, even though both are really great. I had more slot, if more space, or I probably would have tried to squeeze that in there.
Okay, well, okay.
I'm just surprised you said it was Durarara, right?
I'm most surprised, at least, by Durarara and One Punch Man being on. So like, I'd be interested. Like, I've watched both of these shows, although you may call me a heretic for watching Durarara, as I watched it dubbed, but I actually thought the dub was really good, for the record. But
I would agree with that. Yeah, the dub for the dub for Durarara was pretty good. I think what I liked about it was like it's just the ensemble cast to the next level, right? And it's just like I forget the author's name, but he also wrote Baccano, which is another series I liked.
Okay.
But I personally liked Durarara more than Baccano, maybe because Durarara had like just more time, like it had like 3 seasons or something.
Yeah,
versus
I would say like my main gripes with Durarara are actually that the main characters are extremely uninteresting. I really don't like the main characters, but like a lot of the side characters, like Shizuo, Simon, Celti, like all of those characters are like really well done. I just don't like the main cast at all.
I think that was done deliberately. I think the reason why the main character is the main is because he's supposed to be like the everyman, right? Like the eyes you kind of look through. So I understand it from like a storytelling perspective, but I wholeheartedly agree that like the other characters are like more interesting and more fleshed out. And the main character also has like a bit of an interesting turn.
You cut out.
I was going to ask you, like, you watched all of it, like
yeah, I've seen all of it dubbed as well.
You know that the protagonist kind of has like a bit of a dark edge to him.
Yeah, I like how I don't really see that as like a positive in his character. Like I just see that as like I didn't find that part interesting at all. I think he was like it was very.
I thought goody two shoes boy. He's like, actually, you can call me daddy now, kind of thing. But
what the fuck?
Like he's deciding to take charge, kind of thing.
Well, okay, but, I guess like what made you want to put this on your list over like other shows that like, because I think like I've watched Aurora, I think it's good, but I don't really see it as like in that next level, I guess. Like in a show that I would say would like represent my taste or whatever, like would represent like a top tier show.
Right. So it's entirely for the world building and the ensemble cast. I feel like there's not really any shows out there that do those two things better than Durara. Because it's to the point where the supporting cast eclipses the main cast, right?
Yeah.
And that's the reason
rare.
I love it.
Okay.
Like that's the reason why I found it so interesting, because you can jump around to all these different perspectives of all these different characters and have it still feel like a living, breathing kind of world, right? Like I told you guys, I'm reading like the game series, right? Like every chapter is from a different character's perspective, and I really, really like that, because it's like you can almost highlight like the most interesting things about each character's journey to tell a more cohesive story. Like you've seen Children, right? Like the romance series,
Yeah.
where it's like a bunch of collection. Like I also really like that series, and I would like put it kind of in this. It's not exactly the same category. It's like very different, but like the storytelling method is similar, where it's like highlights from each character's kind of journey, and you have like these mini arcs for characters, and they kind of mix and match and interact with each other. And I just really like that dynamic. And if I were to ever like create a story or write a story, I would want it to be kind of in the similar fashion, in a similar vein, because to me, the world building of a story is super, 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 super important. And I don't
think it's also the
there's a
hardest
show
to get
that,
right, personally. Like
yeah, because it's like you have to simulate like an entire another world in your head as a writer and move the pieces accordingly, and that's so hard to do. And I think that he does it so well.
All right, then what about One Punch Man? Because I really like One Punch Man as well, but I'm surprised that first off, I've really never heard you talk that much about it, but also like I'm surprised that it makes it here over other shows, I guess.
So One Punch Man is really special in my opinion, because it's like it's an action series. Well, I guess the meta of the story also appeals to me, right? Like originally it was this kind of shitty looking webtoon, but
yeah,
like it gets picked up by this huge talent in Yusuke Murata, and then like fucking Madhouse is like, yo, we're gonna make an adaptation of it. Right? So it's kind of like this rags to riches story, ironically about a story of a guy who's too strong. So I like that kind of meta aspect of it, first of all. And then I really like how grounded the story is. Like
yeah,
it has its own rules in its universe, and they never seem to like not make sense, right? Like I think there's a YouTube video out there basically where he compares One Punch Man to like the MCU, and he brings up a good point that like the existence of monsters and heroes in the world of the MCU doesn't really affect status quo, right? Like like besides Shield, the MCU world is functionally the same as our world, right? And he points out that that's like weird, because in the One Punch Man universe, like the heroes are categorized by strength level. People are trained to become heroes. Heroes is like a profession, right? Similar to kind of My Hero Academia. He like wholly incorporates his concepts into the world, whereas in like the MCU, it's just kind of like dumped there, right? Like
that's kind of I think that's kind of the charm of the MCU, though. Whereas basically like our world, but with like superheroes and shit.
Like, don't get me wrong, I like the MCU, but it's like that's definitely an area that I would say it's kind of weakened. Right? Like realistically, think about it. Like, would a citizen be allowed to have weapons like Tony Stark?
I don't think it has to be completely like believable and like realistic.
Yeah, well, okay. I would say that the other way is also true. Like, I think people enjoy it for the fact that it's not as realistic. Like the fact that it is very similar to our world is part of the appeal. Like, is what.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Where like I think people like it more, and I like it more just because it's like literally just our world, except it's like with like superheroes and shit.
I think from an enjoyment perspective, I would agree. Like, I still like like Infinity War is one of my favorite movies of all time. But as an overall kind of, I guess, appreciation for the story, and like well, first of all, this was all just anime. Like, if I have a few down here that put it if it wasn't just anime, but like, and then One Punch Man, I don't know, the humor is great. I really like One Punch
Man. I see that as the biggest selling point of the story, in my opinion. Like, I rated it like I would definitely say it's like in the very top tier for me. Like as like a parody comedy show, I think it's like nearly unmatched. I would say it's like one of the best comedies out there, like in my opinion.
It also kind of flips the normal shonen formula on its head, right?
Yeah,
Where
because it's a
usually it's like,
parody.
well, yeah, but like, let me explain. So like, usually the main character will like gain some sort of epiphany and like have some sort of character growth, which will be reflected as combat prowess, right? He'll get stronger, both mentally, and therefore that will translate into his physical strength at all as well, right? But for Saitama, like it's almost like a post strength kind of world, like right, like his paradigm is not about being stronger. It's about what to do with strength and what truly makes a hero, right? Like that's the central question of One Punch Man, and that's the central question of like say My Hero Academia. What actually makes a hero?
Yeah.
And like the choice to make Saitama this kind of Spanish inhuman god, but at the same time not have him be bogged down by like kind of the Clark Kent personification. Like Saitama as a character, like the everyman, right? Like he's kind of dumb, to be honest. He's kind of like he goes shopping for groceries, and he like he's awkward. He's worried about his hair, like not having hair, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's, there's like a deep seated sense of nihilism that I get from One Punch Man, and a sense of like desperation and loneliness in its story that I really really appreciate. Like that's something that's surprisingly mature for the show. I think. I don't think that I get that a lot from other shonen, for example.
No,
like
because
I mean, like
I think like
there's always like super hopeful and super Genki, right? Like
yeah. I mean, I think for me, like the difference is like One Punch Man's core appeal is it's targeting a different type of audience than like the traditional shonen, because like for me, like One Punch Man has never been about like like I think this was like most shown when like season 2 came out and a lot of people were disappointed in the animation. Like I think for a lot of people, they saw One Punch Man season 1 as like, oh, flashy animation, this is so cool. But like I think the core appeal of the show, outside of just like pretty graphics, is like about the parody, and like the parody being that like talking about like more complex themes to do with like what does it mean to be a hero and that kind of stuff, which I think is something that was like uniquely explored in One Punch Man over like any shonen, because they don't want to really go through that kind of arc, I guess.
Yeah, because I think the journey for a lot of shonen is how do I become strong, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the journey for One Punch Man is, okay, what do I do with my strength?
Yeah.
And like the reason why I chose One Punch Man over like Mob Psycho, even Mob Psycho is by the same author, by the way. And I get into a lot of arguments, actually, sort of meme arguments with a friend of mine, basically, because he likes Mob Psycho more than One Punch Man, and
I think
like
that's like a generally held opinion.
Yeah.
Like most people will say Mob Psycho is better.
Like from a pure kind of critical standpoint, I get it. It's just I think I can relate to Saitama a bit better than I can relate to Mob, sort of. And maybe if I'd seen it when I was younger, I could kind of like empathize with that set of struggles a bit more. Not that I don't. I mean, I still do. It's just, I guess, subjective opinion wise, I like just One Punch Man more.
Yeah.
Even though Mob Psycho is really good, and it's probably it's an honorable mention, similar to like Gurren Lagann, where it's like it's by the same creator, right? Like the same studio made Gurren Lagann as Kill la Kill, but I just kind of prefer one over the other for
Okay.
personal reasons.
Then do you have any or like final thoughts, I guess, for this?
Yeah, I guess I'll run through honorable mentions really quickly. I was gonna put High School of the Dead on there because
really?
I thought it. Yeah, because it's like
mentions.
It kind of like captures like my trashy taste. Like High School of the Dead is actually one of the few anime that I've actually completely rewatched, and I watched it with a friend, and like I think he said something that really stuck with me. He was like, "This is like if Michael Bay made an anime, right?" Because it was just like action, explosions, tits, like. Just and I remember thinking like that's a really good way to sum anime, and more than anything, it was just pure unadulterated fun. Like I had so much fun with High School of the Dead. It's just like
I see.
it's just ridiculous. Like, but it was just so fun. I put Clannad up there as an honorable mention because
really?
After Story is one of the most emotional things that I've ever experienced in anime. Just anything with family usually just hits me. So that's a bit cheap. Parasite is really good. It's just really good. Yeah. Bleach, similar to, like I talked a little bit, it would fit in Bakugan, like sort of like a formative shonen show. Yeah, Kill la Kill, Mob Psycho, and Soul Eater. And then some non-anime stuff that I was going to put on there would have been The Boys. I really like The Boys, the show. Rick and Morty, and Nier Automata.
Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty.
I like Rick and Morty.
Taste.
Morty makes her on-road mentions.
Yeah, I like Rick and Morty, dude.
I know, but like, I feel like most of these picks are like, it's more than just you like them. But I guess that's why it wasn't on your actual.
Oh yeah,
list.
yeah. It's like it's indicative of my taste, and I definitely think Morty is one of those things. Because, I mean, I don't want to get into like a huge Rick and Morty tangent, but like the underlying nihilism of Rick is similar to like Saitama, right? Like they're both like demigods in their series, but it's like what do you do with that strength then? But we can save that for another discussion.
Okay.
At all. But yeah, that was my 3x3. I had a lot of fun making this actually, and shared this with other anime peoples. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. A lot of fun with this.
Okay. I pulled up mine. All right.
Oh,
Railgun. Okay, I'm surprised at that.
Okay, so
wait. So the
Is
top
that-
one is Sakuroso? No.
wait. Sakurosa's down
it's
here.
Railgun.
This
Bunny
is Railgun.
Senpai.
No, Sakuroso is Sakuroso is bottom middle,
Yeah,
right?
bottom middle. Yeah.
Wait, I've seen the show in the top left. What is that?
It's called. Oh well, this
Railgun.
is specifically Railgun, but it's the Tuaro series. I'm putting Railgun as my representative from the series. But yes, you might have seen Index. You might have seen Railgun.
I think I've seen top left for some reason.
Okay.
I don't think I've seen it.
So I'll go through one by one. Railgun. For those who don't know, it's Railgun, Bunny Senpai, Violet Evergarden, Steins Gate, Log Horizon, Shinsekai Yori. Sorry, I couldn't find a better picture for this.
That's such a horrible photo for Shinsekai Yori, dude.
I couldn't. Well, I mean, there might have been better ones, but yeah, this is like the
There's not
general
even any
cover.
characters in it.
Yeah, but this is the cover art that they use for like all the anime, so it's like this is the one I chose. And then Grisaya no Kajitsu, Fruit of Grisaya, Sakuroso, and then Fate Zero. So
I can't say actually Railgun surprises Railgun and Evergarden surprised me a little bit. Everything else was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
yeah. So okay, I'll just say like as qualifiers to this list, like I needed them to like I wanted to make sure that none of these are like none of these shows are stuff that like it's like easy picks or whatever. Because okay, like some of the shows that I left off this list, like I didn't include Grand Blue, I didn't include Code Geass because like I think those shows are like too easy, and it's not interesting.
Actually, yeah, I'm surprised Code Geass is not on here.
I mean, I guess like Code Geass maybe should have been on this list, but like in terms of like if I were to pick my top 9, Code Geass is definitely in my top 9. But like I didn't want to put stuff that was like too easy because like I think generally people will agree that like Code Geass is like a classic, right? Like it's not like a disputed thing. So
yeah, so it's like it's too well known. You didn't want to put it.
Yeah. So there were a few like obviously the exception to this was Steins Gate, which Steins Gate is generally will be considered like a classic. There's a few people who will say like it's boring or whatever, but like in general it's a classic. But I would rate Steins Gate above Code Geass, so I put that one on there, despite the fact that it's generally critically acclaimed. But like the other shows, I wanted to represent stuff that was like relatively interesting to talk about, I guess, and then still represent my taste. Grand Blue is not on here, and then that also means that like the comedy slot of anime that I normally watch is also not on here. But I'll just say I didn't include Grand Blue because it's too easy. Because like I know Skylar really likes Grand Blue, so it's not interesting to put it on, right? And so it was on his list, so no surprises there. I guess I can go through and explain why I chose each one. I'll start in the middle. Log Horizon. I don't think it really needs an explanation.
Yeah.
I think like this is like clearly my favorite anime, and like the reasons why I really like it is because first off, there's no real show like it out there, like that explores the themes that it does, which is like um, about like the game world and like the politics, and like it takes a much more realistic approach to being like an isekai, because like if you think about like a lot of other isekai is just like, oh, we get transported to another world, we're overpowered, whatever. But like, Locked Horizon actually takes like a realistic approach to like, if these events were to happen, like the premise of like, if you were to get transported to another world, and these were like the properties of the world, like how it would actually go down. I think a lot of the things about it that were so interesting, like the economics and politics about it, is what continually draws me back to the show. Even though, yeah, like I like fully understand like that there were a lot of blows to this show that like parts of season 2 were pretty shit. Like like there's no two ways around it, right? But like parts of season 2 were pretty shit, and like some of the arcs related to like the younger characters are not that interesting. But like to me, a lot of the world building and stuff puts it here for me. So and yeah, Lock Horizon, and then Shinsekai Yori. Um, I'll stay on. Like I don't know if I've said it on this podcast specifically, but I believe Shinsekai Yori to be like the most like perfect show in terms of like from start to finish having like very like basically no flaws. Like I can't think of a way that I could like actually improve Shinsekai Yori, and I believe
Wait,
it to be.
is that the show you recommended me? I can't remember. Like about the.
Yeah, it starts off with a bunch of kids basically.
Okay, yeah, so it was
Yeah.
that one. Okay, yeah.
So I don't
Okay.
I don't think it's for everybody, but if you do, and like it's a very different type of anime where like actually, okay, so one of the things that I really enjoyed about basically every show on here is that it's unique. Like there's out of all of these shows, probably the most quote unquote generic show is probably like maybe Sakuroso or like Bunny Girl Senpai are like relatively generic shows, but like in general, they provide an extremely unique experience for like each of these shows. Like they don't they don't really follow formulas, which I find to be extremely important when like choosing anime like to that I really enjoy, and that also applies to shows like Code Geass that were not on the list, and like Grand Blue, and so like but more and more now, like I feel that when I watch more and more anime, it's like the things that actually excite me are like the stuff that I can't find, and like that's kind of why I don't really like shonen as much, because like to me, just like being better, like iterating on a formula and making it better is like not good enough anymore. It's kind of like it has to be something completely different than something that's like on the market. Um, which is obviously harder and harder to find like the more that you watch, right? So I mean, any comments, Skyler? Is he still there?
I don't. Wait, what? I mean, I saw that he was muted. Wait, let me see. Yeah, you're muted.
Fuck, I was talking. My bad.
Wow.
What the fuck?
Bunny Girl Senpai is just like weaker Monogatari to me. But I kind of get it because it's like a speed run Monogatari almost.
Yeah.
Um,
So I've watched. Okay, so I still haven't finished all of Monogatari, but I'm like about probably 70% of the way through, give or take. So I have like a good idea of what the story is. I still really enjoy Monogatari. It would be kind of like in the next tier down. So if this is basically representing all the very top tier, this Monogatari would basically be in the next tier where it's really really good, but I can't like put it above the top tier shows.
right. I'm a little surprised Grisaia is up there. I never thought Grisaia was that good. It was just kind of like an edgy harem anime to me. Like,
yeah. So okay, I'll explain a little bit about Grisaia because I think this one is probably
like I liked it, but in my 3x3, no way.
Grisaia is probably the show on here that I would rate the lowest in terms of like overall score. But I have it on here because of well, okay. There's two things. This is actually the Grisaia was the only show that I've actually read the visual novel for, which is actually it's the only visual novel that I've ever read other than Doki Doki, which obviously is like kind of a different thing. But I completely finished all of the Grisaia visual novels. I mean, I didn't complete every route, of course, but I did all of the ones for Sachiu, who's the maid girl, the purple-haired girl, who I don't remember her name, and fuck, I don't remember who the Amane, the red-haired girl. But yeah. So like the three in the art, although you can barely see Sachiu, but to me, like what appeals to me about Grisaia is okay. First off, the first season is like really mid, other than like the last arc. But I think like some of the topics that they cover in Grisaia are really interesting and like are not really things that most anime actually are able or like are willing to cover. With like the military stuff and like his like harsh childhood and like to me like one of my favorite arcs in all.
Talk about the harsh childhood because to me, the more I watched it, the more I was like, this is like toward the author was just putting how many more tragic backstory elements can I cram into this? Like,
well, okay, it doesn't have to be like as like obviously all of these people coming together at one place is probably unlikely, but like all of these things are like there probably exists a person who in real life who's gone through a lot of these like things in their own lives, right? Like it's probably not like it's one in like maybe whatever, but like
a little better. But like the way that the Grisaia executed it, it just felt like the author sat down and was like, what is the most tragic thing that could ever happen? And he just kept listing things. And like I think Berserk is a good example of like a tragic backstory, right? Like a lot of really bad stuff that happens to him, but it's like it feels much more realistic than what happens in Grisaia. Like Tiger, can we talk about like spoilers? Are you good?
I'm totally good. You guys can talk about spoilers.
Okay, so
the only thing you guys can't talk about is Attack on Titan, but you guys aren't talking about that, so it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so like he gets abused by his parents, he gets abused by his sister, he gets statutory rape like multiple times. He goes to war. What else happens to him?
I'm in the middle of something later.
He gets like all sorts of abuse. His mentor dies. His mentor / mother / lover / One-chan person dies. Like it's just like it's almost gratuitous as a point. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel real after a certain point. His suffering.
I mean, I don't really agree, but I mean that's why it's on this list. But okay, I would say also one of the reasons why it's on here is like that the final arc of season 1, which is Amane's arc, where she gets into a car accident or whatever, like the bus gets in an accident, is probably one of my favorite arcs in like all of anime, which is like part of the reason why it's on here. I definitely
wait, the bus accident thing?
Yeah.
I thought that was horrible, dude.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And then it revealed at the end, oh, they were only 2 miles away from. I'm like, okay. Like you bitches couldn't bother to walk 2 miles in any direction. Try to figure this shit out, but all right, whatever.
Well, I mean, they couldn't because it's like there was like people with broken limbs and stuff, so like they wouldn't be able to. But okay, anyway, like
whatever. Or like,
well, yeah, but it's also like a group of high school girls. Like you can't like part of it is that you can't expect them to have done the most optimal thing because they just aren't that smart. Like they're just a bunch of like high school girls, right? Like they just didn't.
They get pushed to the point of cannibalism, dude. You'd think they start using their meat brains at that point. Like at that point, I would have just started a fire and then just been like, all right, like someone's gonna find us eventually. Like the helicopter. Like they already had people, right? And then if it's a fire, it's like the most. Whatever. I'm not going to get into it, but I thought that was so contrived. I thought that was such BS. But all right.
I mean, okay. I feel like if you always like ask like, oh, what would I do in this situation? Like, yeah, if I'm smarter than like these people in the anime, like, yes, of course you could come to a better conclusion than what they're doing. No, but like,
Yuji's sister was there, and she's supposed to be like a genius.
Yeah, but there's like reasons why she was unable to like help them because like which are explained in the show. But okay, anyway, point aside, I think like to me, Grisaya like has some of the best high points in like all of anime, and like the low points are like there's like a lot of mediocre to like bad stuff in the show, which is like completely fine to me. Like I value the reason it's on here is because like the two arcs that I really enjoyed pull it up to be kind of in this level for me, which are the Amane arc and the main character, fuck, I don't remember his name, arc,
Yuji.
like
Yuji.
in the OVA. But yeah. So also a large reason why I also have it on here is because after reading the visual novels and stuff, I have like a pretty deep appreciation for the show, or the series, I guess I should say. After reading the visual novels, I don't think I'll ever read another visual novel again, but or I may like later in the like further in the future, but I have no plans to do so. So this will be like the unique thing about that, yeah. Okay. I'll
on Grisaya, like to me, it was always just an edgy hair. Really, really liked it, and he said that really affected him like deeply. So maybe I'm the odd one out here. But in terms of your other shows, Fate Zero's, classic.
I think Fate Zero, classic. Sakuroso. I mean, most people. Okay, Fate Zero. Okay, I mean, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say like if it wasn't for Kaguya-sama, Sakuroso on there as like my kind of school life, kind of comedy rom-com-ish show.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sakuroso, I think it separates itself for me compared to other like slice of life romances, like for example, like Golden Time or Toradora, in the sense that I think a lot of the deeper themes that Sakuroso talks about is like way more in depth than like all these other shows, where like Golden Time and stuff, like they're good shows. Golden Time, Toradora, like these other slice of life romance shows are like they're good shows, but they don't do anything other than being good, right? Like they don't provide like a unique experience to me.
They don't do anything other than being good.
Yeah, but like they don't talk about like deeper themes or anything, or which is like fine. Like that's fine for being like it's fine for being like, but yeah, like Sakuroso talks about like the aspects of like hard work and like talent and everything, and I find that really, really interesting. And it's why I hold it to be the best slice of life romance out there, in my opinion.
Wait, Sakuroso?
Yeah.
So you like Sakuroso more than Kaguya-sama?
Yes. I would say Kaguya-sama. What?
I mean, Kaguya-sama didn't make your list.
Yeah, and partially that's probably also related to like the fact that I don't think the anime adaptations are as good as the manga, in my opinion, and even the manga like maybe would struggle to make this list. I would still consider Kaguya-sama to be in the top tier, where like it's like really fucking good, but yeah, I don't have it above Sakuroso. And then like Fate Zero, I have also because like the influence of Fate on a lot of things like that I've done, it has been pretty big. So it's kind of a representative of the Fate franchise in general, but I definitely think Zero is like the best by far.
I think for you and me both, not only does a show have to be good, it has to have some sort of emotional attachment for us, or some sort of personal attachment for us for each series, for it to really kind of make it into the 3x3, right?
Yeah, in a sense, because okay, I'll say that the two series here, or the three series here that are more so specialized, I guess, that I probably wouldn't have included unless I had like qualifiers, I guess, is that like Railgun, I would say is probably the weakest entry on this list, in terms of my personal enjoyment. And then like Violet Evergarden and Bunny Senpai, I don't know if I would like say as like these are the shows or whatever. So if I were to basically like remove shows and like go based off of like only personal enjoyment and nothing else, then some of these shows wouldn't make it. But I think that they represent parts that are. I wanted to like prove a larger point, I guess, like with the shows that I put on this list. It wasn't just about like how much I personally enjoyed it, right?
True. Yeah, it should represent your taste. Like, it shouldn't just be like your 9 top-rated shows. At least,
yeah.
You should do it that way.
I think Railgun is really interesting because, I think
Railgun's like a shoujo, right?
It's a little bit like a shoujo. I think Railgun is probably like I picked it for a similar reason you picked Aurora. I would say that the world building in Railgun and the Tuaru universe is basically unmatched, even by shows like Shinsekai Yori and Log Horizon, which I rate as really highly for their world building. I would say that the Tuaru universe is just like unmatched in terms of anime. Like, it has both like the longest legacy or a longer legacy than like most shows out there, but also like the interconnectedness of like all of the different aspects of Index and Railgun and all the different characters in it. I think is what brings me back. And obviously, I think Railgun is much better than the other series in the franchise. But I would say it's just like the best of what you can do with like basically purely based off extremely good world building, right?
Yeah, I mean, Railgun is better than the main series, which, like, I like the Railgun universe. It's just not as I think maybe I'm more partial to like the more gritty nature of Durara than the kind of hopefulish slice of life stuff in Railgun. Even though, full disclosure, I really like Railgun as well. Yeah, the other stuff. I mean, I haven't seen Violet Evergarden. Now I might give it a shot.
Okay, so Violet Evergarden, I'll say, is like before I'll give like an explanation for what Violet Evergarden really like the appeal of the show for me is. Violet Evergarden is basically a show about like in the first few episodes, it kind of explores the main character Violet, and she loses. She is basically raised as a super soldier.
Is she human?
Yeah, she's human. But she's raised. She's kind of not really a human because the way she's raised is like as like a super soldier. So in the sense that like she's trained to not feel emotions, and she's trained to just kill people. And so like as a kid, and as a young like a teenager and stuff, she goes to war, and she like that's the only thing she knows. But then like basically at the beginning of the series, the war has ended, and she basically goes out to discover emotion and stuff. So she becomes kind of a letter writer for other people. So it basically, like, I don't know if this thing actually exists in real life. It doesn't really matter to me. But basically, she goes and like listens to other people's stories and then like writes a letter to their like beloved or whatever. And so it's very episodic in that sense. But the kind of the common line through all of it is like Violet's kind of slowly learning about like what it means to be like a human person, because she doesn't really have emotions at the beginning of the series. She doesn't know what these emotions are, and so like I feel okay. First off, I would say that Violet Evergarden, like the first episode of Violet Evergarden, is probably the best episode 1 in like all of anime,
Really?
in my opinion. Like it was the only show that's ever made me like feel emotional, and like I cried at the end of episode 1 through just like one episode. And so I would say like it's probably the best single episode in all of anime. Or episode 1 in all of anime. And I would say that like the show is not for everybody, but if you like the kind of, it's like somewhat slow paced in a sense, but it's like more episodic and yeah. So like I would say if you enjoy the kind of more atmospheric and like slice of life aspects of anime, then it's also like fucking beautiful. Like the animation is like insane, and art.
Now that I think about it, I've seen I think episode 10 of that show, the one where she letters for a mother who's going to die before.
Yeah,
I like that episode.
That's like how all of the episodes are. So like other than I think like the first 3, it like talks about her as like Violet as a person, but then like after I think starting from episode 4 onwards, it kind of just goes into different stories of different people in the universe, and you generally don't like meet the same characters again, so it's like very episodic in that sense. So yeah, I would highly recommend it as a show. I would if you're like interested in that kind of atmosphere. But as like a final thought, I guess, is the reason why I chose a lot of these shows is that it is for kind of a reason that I've kind of been enjoying VTubers recently. So I'll say this as kind of an addendum to this list, is that more recently my personal enjoyment of anime has been more shifted for like Japanese culture, like otaku culture, has been more shifted towards like VTubers and manga instead of anime. And the reason for that is that I feel that I personally find it more enjoyable if I don't know what's going to happen next. And so a lot of the shows that I picked here are representative of that, because they either are extremely unique in terms of what they provide, or have some sort of like episodic structure or whatever, that like you don't really know exactly what's going to happen in every episode, which I think is something that's like very common in manga, because like if you're reading a manga, then you don't really like know exactly what's going to happen, unlike in an anime, because like in an anime, when you see like a 12 episode structure, like it's like at the end of the 12 episodes, you know, like the final 2 episodes are going to have like a climax, right? But like in manga, when you read a new chapter, you don't know if that's going to be like the like if they're going to have to resolve here or whatever, if you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying?
Sort of think.
Okay.
Well, okay. I mean, I feel like that more and more, like not as much like I guess scripted versus unscripted.
I guess
not
what I'm getting out of this is you like VTubers more than anime.
Well, yes and no, but like I feel that more and more, like as I've already like, in my opinion, I've already like completed what I would say is like maybe like 80 to 90% of the content out there that like currently exists in terms of anime that I would like see as like potential masterpieces or whatever. And so like it's going to be harder and harder for me to find that like those shows that like I know are going, or like those shows that are going to be like that like 10 out of 10, or like that experience that like kind of changes the way that you think about like media in general. And so
True. I get what you mean. So it's like it's something will have to come along that hasn't been done better by any of the stuff that you've already seen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. Yeah.
So like more and more, it feels that instead of seeing something that like I've already seen, just like a little bit different, I'd rather see something that I've never seen before, which is like why I've been moving more towards these other mediums that are not related to anime.
I can kind of agree with that. I don't watch as much as I used to, and I've become much more selective with what I do give my time to, because it's just like you said, it's like it feels like if I can get what I've already gotten from this show, if I already got what I would have gotten from this show already, I'm not really interested to see anymore. So even though like I like Horimiya, I'm not watching the Horimiya anime just because like I've already read it. Yeah, I already know what good slice of life rom-com kind of thing is like. So it's like it's doesn't break new ground, right? Like everything has to break.
And I kind of get why anime. I don't see anime as dying, but I think like as you become more of an like the longer you've been an anime fan, the less you read or you watch the anime, and more people start moving towards reading manga or light novels or whatever else. And I think like outside of being like the best shows of a year or whatever, like probably in a few years I might not even be watching much anime at all, like maybe like 1 or 2 series a year, which is pretty crazy considering like I never really thought I would get to this point like before.
So you bring up a good point. It might just be that our anime journey is kind of coming, and I feel like that was a sentiment that I sort of had in high school.
Yeah.
You guys might not agree with this, but I think it might just be that you guys are like growing older.
Could
Right.
be. Could
And
be,
like a lot of anime, I know it's kind of meant for like high schoolers and like young adults.
Like I could definitely see me being in a point in my life where I don't laugh at what's Hakoi anymore. I mean, like I'm not at that point.
Right, I know, but you're like slowly moving towards that point, so that might be why you're watching less, or like you only watch the best of the best now, because the ones that like aren't that good isn't like that worth your time.
Yeah, like I would never watch Shakugan no Shana now anymore, or any Shakugan no Shana type shows. It would have to be like the Attack on Titans, the Rurouni Kenshins, that would like have to captivate my interest going forward. Like even Gundam, I got a little bored with because it's the same message. Basically, war is bad, which is like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. But like, so
yeah, but I think I mean, whether it's because it's a symptom of like I'm getting older, or like I don't know if that's true, because like it's like now I read like, okay, so before when I was like first an anime fan, I didn't read manga at all, right? So like I watched like all of like a lot of anime, but like and played a lot of games and stuff, but like in terms of like the time I spend consuming that same type of medium, I still read or read/watch anime and manga about the same amount of time as I used to. But now I just like the percentage of like manga is now like I read like 80% or like 90% of it is me reading manga, and then like 10 to 20% is like me watching anime. So it's like and like I've been thinking a lot about like why the reason for that is, and like I guess I'm still not too sure as to like why that started to happen, because it's like I'm not the only one who does that, right? Like it's a very common thing for a lot of people.
Am I just because I don't know, would you say that manga is more underground than more obscure than anime?
Yeah, right now for sure.
Yeah, so I mean that might be why. Just like generally speaking, when you like something more, like you'll like dig deeper. Like you will generally like over time you'll like things that are more that have like more depth, basically. That like someone who's new to the medium wouldn't enjoy, because it's like it's not as friendly to just like casual right. Yeah.
It's almost like the kind of cultural consciousness had shifted towards manga as a whole. Like, I feel like the trash taste barometer where the community is at as a whole. Like, I definitely feel like more and more people are shifting away from it. And I also feel like the fact that anime is released on a weekly schedule, I think kind of hurts it. Like, I don't see how it could really feasibly done any other way. Like, I mean, like, unless you wait till production's finished and you drop it all at once. But like, the fact that manga is so much more consumable and usually so much more of it is out there, that it's just easier in this kind of binge culture to get into and just like read like 100 chapters of manga instead of waiting every week for like a new episode of stuff.
Well, yeah, but I actually I mean, I read and watch anime in like the very particular style, so I actually generally don't binge manga that much. I'll always just read on release. And so I'm kind of at the point right now where like I'm reading like enough manga series that I get to read like about like 10 to 15 chapters of like about like maybe 10 chapters of manga a day, which is like quite a lot. So I don't really binge manga that much. Similarly, I don't really binge anime that much as well. I basically just watch it on release.
Dude, I read all of was it Gantz in like 3 days, which is like 400 chapters. So I don't know, maybe. But
well, yeah, but I mean, different people have different ways of consuming it. I don't know if that's the reason why anime is dying, or not dying, but like being consumed less by like anime fans, I guess. Like, I think there's like there isn't just one reason, in my opinion. I think there's like a lot of different factors that go into this. Like, part of it is like manga is easier to consume. That it's like, you know, reading one chapter is like much easier than like a 20-minute investment of like anime, especially if you're like having to read subtitles and stuff, where it has to be like your full attention, right?
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
All
Absolutely.
right. Well, on that note, do you want to end us off with scripted and non-scripted, or do you want to save it?
We're like super over, right?
Yeah, we're
like
super
2
over.
hours.
Well, I mean, I kind of talked about it a little bit.
Next week.
Okay, I kind of talked about it a little bit. If you guys want to add anything, if not, we can just end the episode here.
Right. We'll call it here then.
It's fun. I've been watching Attack on Titan. I think I watched an episode earlier, actually. An episode.
Good.
2 episodes.
Best anime, dude. Best anime.
Yeah, I think for Western audiences that aren't familiar with anime, but you think you won't absolutely just like hate it. This is like definitely a really, really good show. Like the plot, the story is really, really good.
Best anime, dude.
I'm definitely.
What else compares to Attack on Titan in like the 2010s, like this decade? What else? There's nothing else, dude.
Actually, yeah, I actually think like because I've seen most of the very popular like Western shows. Like I think compared to those, like Attack on Titan beats all of them in plot.
I told you, dude.
It's generally considered to
be
the best.
Tiger knows what's up.
I'm just saying, just like compared to stuff like Game of Thrones, like stuff like that, like it's not even close. If you compare the plot, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
easy. Attack on Titan's greatest of all time.
Well,
Attack on Titan's
very well written, but
I mean, actually, I've been thinking about this, but like more and more now, like I've been kind of tempted to just drop my current schedule of like watching anime and like actually going to watch some of those shows that I've been more interested in watching and like not just watch on a weekly basis. So I'll see where if it does end up happening. Like probably not this season, just because there's enough good shows this season that I won't end up doing this. But maybe next season I might try watching Attack on Titan instead of watching seasonal anime. But we'll see.
It's actually really long. I'm surprised how long it was. I didn't know that a season was this long.
Yeah. I think like total Attack on Titan has like over like about 100 episodes out right now or something.
66.
66.
Yeah, it's not 100, but
it's
I thought it'll be like 30 or 40, but no, it's like
it'll probably end at around like 90. Actually,
it's 30, 80, 32, so like about 90, right? Give or take.
Yeah, it'll end probably around like 90-ish. Might get to 100. I don't know. Depends on how much detail they go for other stuff. And the way the manga's going, they have some room to add some anime original stuff and stretch it out, because they did that for the second half of season 1, where they kind of stretched the pacing a little bit. But that was because the manga was still like, they were catching up to the manga like really quickly. So they were like, oh, you got to slow down. But now that the manga's going to end,
I think
either way, check it out.
Sorry, what?
I was just gonna say, definitely check it out. Like that's all that matters.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually, I think compared to other anime, it's very, very fast. Like it puts you in the action in the first episode, and then it just like it doesn't ever take you out.
I know, right? Isn't it
always
great?
Like there's always a next thing that's like you
always happening, and it's always good. It's like it's really amazing.
Yeah, I don't have to like watch like a season to get to the good part. You know what I'm saying?
Like dude, episode 1 is one of the most metal starts to any anime I've ever seen. Right? Like just even after episode 1, you're like, wow. Like
yeah, like I think if you especially if you just like this if you're like a fan of action, drama, and horror, it's definitely a really, really good show. Really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I feel like some shows are a little bit ruined for me, because like if I go in with high expectations, I sometimes will like have a default expectation of like not liking it or whatever, which is kind of why I don't. One of the reasons why I haven't watched Attack on Titan yet, but I mean, I'm trying to like cut that out of that like
I
before
know what you
start
mean, because I
watching.
watched Akira and I was kind of underwhelmed, even though Akira's like, oh my god, best anime movie ever, kind of right. But like, I don't know,
Yeah.
I was really underwhelmed by it.
I think yeah, I mean, I went in because okay, so I watched season 1 like way back when it came out in current, but I was like, I'm not that interested. But then I rewatched it knowing that Skylar praising it to be the best piece of anime in the last decade. So like I had very high expectations, and then it was still good.
Yeah,
Let's
but
go.
like, I would say that like it's kind of like, for me, it's like a little bit of an unhealthy thing where like if other people have high expectations of it, like I'm like default going to like not like it, because like I have a little bit of like a contrarian.
What a fucking elitist.
Like it's not really elitist, it's just like not like a healthy thing to think. So like I'm trying to like not have those kind of that mindset when watching Attack on Titan, but I do want to give it a shot at some point.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
Yes,
Tiger.
Yes.
Okay.
On that note, take care, ladies and gentlemen, and others. Watch Attack on Titan. Wash your hands.
And more Secret over time. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys in episode 16, and we're definitely watching.